Welcome back everybody to Forza Horizon 5, and today we're taking a look at the 2022 Lynk Co O2 Hatchback. So the production of this car in terms of the crossover SUV version began in June 2018, with this hatchback version being unveiled in March 2021. And yeah, this is obviously a hatchback as the name gives it away, so that means it's front wheel drive. But it also has an 8-speed automatic gearbox and the same engine and power as the O3 Plus Sport Saloon. So I do suspect that this is actually the O2 Plus, although I have yet to find any information that such a car exists. So maybe just because it's a hatchback version, they've not really tried to differentiate any performance version from the standard version. But I've also struggled to find any information on this car actually having this, big powerful engine that the O3 Plus has in it, as well as a slightly more powerful version, but the same engine regardless, as the O5 Plus also had in it. But still, as a hatchback, it does look pretty good. Same kind of front fascia as we've seen on the other Lynk Co vehicles, but yeah, obviously the rear end is going to be slightly different, and yeah, but the interior is pretty much the same, as you can see. So it looks pretty good, looks well built, and everything is where you would expect it to be. And then you've also got a decent amount of legroom and rear space in the rear compartment, as you can see, nicely pointed in there. And then obviously you've got the massive advantage of the hatchback rear end. So you've got plenty of room. Looks like those seats will probably fold away. And then you've obviously got the parcel shelf that will pull over as well. So plenty of space going in terms of the hatchback element. And then you've got your quad exhausts, and yeah, overall the styling looks good as well. I like the wheels, and like I said, this shares the same engine as the O3 Plus. So yeah, that means a 2-litre turbocharged inline 4, producing 251 horsepower and 258 pounds-feet of torque. Now obviously that's slightly less than the O5 Plus, which was the SUV crossover kind of thing, which is slightly larger than the crossover version of this car. Which is why it has extra power to make up for the extra weight. But this actually weighs less than the O3 Plus as well, because it is only front wheel drive and all-wheel drive, so it weighs 3,483 pounds, so not a huge amount less. It's about 100 pounds less or thereabouts, but still it's obviously less at the end of the day, which is obviously beneficial when you're dealing with the same power and the same torque. Although I would say this getting off the line isn't quite as easy in terms of being quick off the line as the O3 Plus, because of the lack of all-wheel drive. The front-wheel drive element to this does seem to somewhat struggle in terms of dealing with the power going just through the front wheels, which is a little bit unfortunate. So yeah, it's nowhere near as sharp as some hot hatchbacks from over in Europe or in Japan, but it, as a first effort, is a pretty good one overall. But to see how good, let's get out onto the open road and see what this car can do. Right, here we are at the drag strip, so let's see what this car can do in terms of straight line speed before we hit the speed camera, and then we'll get it round the track. So yeah, like I said, off the line launch is not great with this being front wheel drive. Obviously some front wheel drive cars with a lot of power are actually good off the line, but this really isn't, unfortunately. So yeah, but let's see what it can do before we hit the speed camera. So as you can see, it does chug a little, and it does seem to struggle to get the power down. Now, I'm not sure if that's whether or not because Lynk Co typically don't do front-wheel drive cars. I can't remember if the O5 Plus was actually front-wheel drive now, but obviously the O3 Plus is all-wheel drive, and that has the same power as this. So whether or not they've just basically copy and pasting the platform and then just deleting the rear differential to provide all-wheel drive power, I'm not sure, because at the end of the day, you'd expect the car to be able to deal with the same power as the car that it's also based on the same platform as, but for whatever reason that is just not the case. But still, when it does get going, it is reasonably good in terms of handling, and yeah, it's got a decent amount of mid-range acceleration on the go as well. So yeah, but before we get around the track, let's take a look at this car's stats in Rivals mode. Let's take a look at what this has to offer. So we're in low-end B class, and let's just go to manufacturer. So yeah, as you can see, the stats overall are pretty decent, but not spectacular. Braking and handling are pretty good for a car of this type. Speed is also on the good side of things as well, but the acceleration is a little bit weak, and as you can see, the launch is nowhere near as good as the 03 Plus, which also has better handling because of the all-wheel drive system. Not sure where it's getting the extra speed from though. Maybe the shape is a little bit more conducive to being a higher, rate of speed, because it's more aerodynamic. But still, the braking isn't much different. Although again, not sure why, considering they are on the same platform at the end of the day. So yeah, but yeah, it's not overly impressive in terms of what in terms of other hot hatchbacks that we've seen out there. From the likes of VW or Honda, or even the French kind of hot hatchbacks that we've seen before. But nonetheless, let's hear what it sounds like first, and then we'll talk about it some more. So yeah, this isn't wowing me as much as the 03 Plus or the 05 Plus, to be honest. It's a little bit more ordinary, a little bit more plain Jane. It seems to be resting more on its looks and its uniqueness in that regard than having any real performance or exciting handling characteristics on the go. Which isn't to say it's awful, there's not much in the way of understeer, although when there is, it does seem to plough on a little bit. And the power delivery is overall reasonable once it does get off the line, but yeah, the lack of traction or the lack of proper tuning to get the car off the line convincingly is kind of worrying. But still, 0 to 60 is dealt with in 6.417 seconds, although if the car handled the power off the line better, it would be quicker than that. 0 to 100 is dealt with in 15.317 seconds, which is decent, and then it has a top speed of 154 miles an hour, which is better than some hot hatchbacks, no doubt about that. But yeah, again, it's nowhere near as high as some of the hot hatchbacks out there from Europe, for instance, like the Volkswagen Golf R and whatnot. But I guarantee this would be cheaper to buy, no doubt, because it's got a less marketable badge and whatnot. Obviously always makes cars cheaper to buy. People a lot of the times do buy a car because of the badge, and when that's the case, they can usually up the prices for such vehicles like Mercedes, for instance. So yeah, it probably is cheap to buy, and it's no doubt would be a good car overall to have on a day-to-day basis, but there's nothing out there outside of maybe the looks that are impressing me or unique compared to other cars. So yeah, and at the end of the day, if you want the unique looks, why not go for the 05, which has way more practicality, or the 03, which has way more in the way of sportiness. So yeah, there's better offerings from Lynk Co, to be honest. This hasn't impressed me anywhere near as much as the two previous cars that we've had from Lynk Co. But still, it is overall decent, and it is nice to have another hot hatchback, especially from another country, being China. Although obviously this is based on the Volvo CMA platform, I think it's called. But still, you can get this car by getting 20 points in the current festival playlist, so it is worth getting just to up the variety, up your car list, and at the end of the day have another Lynk Co vehicle, which, although it's lesser than the other two, it's still a worthwhile car to try out. Nonetheless, so thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.